We expect our gardens to work increasingly hard for us. Not only do they have to cope with the daily rigours, kids, pets, parties, but also the unpredictable weather conditions we're beginning to experience. I've put together a selection of plants that are robust enough to stand up to dogs, kids and parties. They're the sort of thing you'll find at any local garden centre. You'll notice most of the shapes are broadly hummocks. They're nice soft mounds. We've got some recognisable shrubs such as this lovely box here. We've got a nice springy hebe here which will spring back into shape after a football's been kicked into it. You can also go for any densely branching shrub. Something variegated would be a nice change from all the greens. But you don't have to focus on the tiny leaves. You can go for something like this viburnum, which has these really big green leaves. It's still got that nice springy structure to it, which means that it will withstand all sorts of abuse. You can go for something a bit bigger, in which case you need to pick something with lots and lots of branches that come from the bottom. They'll be flexible enough to withstand a dog running into them. This viburnum opulus, it's got these big flower heads which are coming out. They'll get bigger and bigger and they'll turn white. They'll be like a gorgeous, sumptuous hydrangea. But I always think, if you're turning it into a virtue, the fact that your garden is going to be a little bit trampled on, you might as well go for something aromatic. Something like this rosemary is a really good bet. Not only will you get beautiful blue flowers in the spring, but every time your dog tramples over your rosemary or your kids accidentally chase each other into the bushes, you'll find you get to appreciate that beautiful scent. Another great plant for dry conditions are ornamental grasses. There's so many to choose from, but a good tip is that although they're all very, very tolerant of drought, the more colourful versions are less tolerant of storms. My favourite of all of them is Calamagrostis. This amazing plant is yet to get into its stride, but it's so fantastic. Even in 80 miles an hour gusts of wind, it will bend right back and spring straight back into shape, so it's a fantastic plant for any garden. When it comes to gardens that are exposed to the elements, suffering from storms and wind damage, you need to think very carefully about the shape of plants you choose, things that will slow down the wind. Something like this silver birch is ideal. It's a feathered form, which means that the branches start right down at the base. There's loads and loads of branches on this which will filter and slow down the wind. You'll find trees that naturally grow like this, things like poplars, a bit too big for the garden, but you can ask for almost any tree in a feathered form, so look out for them in your local garden centre. The other good plant shape to choose are multi-stems. These are plants where there are several different branches coming out from the soil. Something like a hazel is a common plant you'll find in this shape, but again, there's lots of multi-stem specimens if you look out for them. They do exactly the same job. All the branches will filter and slow down the wind. The third shape we want to look out for are weeping forms. Now these have a clear stem, but then they have lots and lots of branches which trail down to the ground, which essentially do exactly the same job. They filter the wind and they slow it down. What we want to avoid are clear stem or standard trees. Now these are the ones most people think of when they're doing a kid's drawing of a tree, you know, a standard trunk with a lollipop on top, but they're incredibly unstable. As you can see, they move about a lot, they're very top heavy. They're the sort of tree that will uproot or snap in windy weather. Evergreens are always a safe bet. They keep their foliage on all year round. They'll withstand a good knock and a scrape. Some, like this holly, even bite back. They're indestructible and indispensable. If you follow these simple rules on what to plant, the kids will be happy, the dogs will be happy, the garden will be happy, but most important of all, you'll be happy.